We want to start our agenda today with a panel discussion on what makes investing in Māori business different. So we've been through this awesome program. Our teams are ready to rock and roll. Well, what do they need now? They need capital. By and large, they need capital. So Māori business and capital are slightly different, and I think it's a really healthy thing to do, to start the conversation in a room like this with some experts to kind of lead that out. So a lot of you have contributed your pātai. So I'm going to invite our panel of investment gurus up to come and go through those questions and have a kōrero and just have a listen and use that panel discussion as a way to kickstart your own conversation around your questions to do with what makes Māori business investment different and how we can support our young, early stage startups who have Māori founders to navigate this minefield, to navigate this landscape so that their businesses can go forward and grow. So I would like to invite up our panelists. So our panel is going to be hosted by the great Aisha Ross, who is the papa of Kōkiri. He is our fearless former leader and now the CEO at PKW, his home in Taranaki. The Kōkiri kaupapa is definitely close to his heart and would not exist without this tōtara in our midst. So we're grateful that he continues to, as he becomes more important and in demand, he continues to answer our call when we need his support. So please put your hands together for our panel host, Aisha Ross. We'll also invite to the stage Sophie Wiltshier, Mike Jenkins and Guy Royal, who are joining our panel today. And I'll pass over to Aisha. At the end of the panel, he'll hand over to our hostess to the mostess, Billy Joe.
Ka te ake tēnā tātou ko ui mai nei i te ata nei. Tēnā no hoki koe te tuakana kia poeri mai tō tātou nei kamupene Māori, ngā whānui mō enei ata no reira tēnā koe. O te rā kia tātou, ko ui mai nei i tēnei wā oki ki te whiri kōrero e pāna ki te kōkiri nei. E tino mihi kia koe Rob, hekurangi maunga, nau mai rau. Kia tātou ngā kai tautoko, Anthony, ASB, Callahan Innovation, Phil, great to see you here, Tompkins Wake, Zero, Spark, Ricky, Rhonda, tātou katoa ngā kai tautoko, e mihi mahana kia koutou i roto i tēnei kaupapa. E mihi tautoko kia koe e te tuahine e Sarah mō tima, hei koutou, hei rātou, o hei koutou te kaihoi o te waka nei o Kōkiri no reira tēnā koutou. Ko wai e tuaki au, hei Taranaki maunga, o te waka, ngā rua ine Ngāti Ruanui, Taranaki, Te Atiawa, Ngāti Mutunga ki au, ko Aisha Ross tōku ingoa. It's my pleasure to be here to sort of have a bit of a kōrero about Māori startup and certainly the investment into that. Oh, just one acknowledgement. Just want to mihi to Trina and Waikato Tainui. Great to see you here also. So on that note, I'll kick us off. I'll hand the rākau to each of our panellists. They can ko wai koe, no hea koe. Tēnā tātou.
Kia ora. Tēnā koe. Ko Sophie tōku ingoa. I work for Callahan Innovation as a kai whakatiri, so as a customer navigator. I'm here also because I am doing my master's in Technological Futures with Academy EX, and my area of interest is in how venture capital can better support wahine Pākehī Māori. And so this is a wider kōrero that I wanted to participate in for many reasons, but also to promote the good word of what we're doing as Te Tiriti partners with Callaghan Innovation as well. So thank you for having me.
Good everybody. My name's Mike Jenkins, Ngāti Raukawa. I'm really proud to be here today. This is a big passion of mine, supporting the next generation of Māori founders. Really excited to obviously listen and learn from the founders today in this part of the showcase, and it's been a real honour to be a mentor for Ako Academy today, so look forward to them dominating the scene.
Kia ora tātou, ko Guy Royal tōku ingoa, no Ngāti Raukawa i te tonga. Commercial lawyer by training, been doing commercial investment work for near on 30-something years, and specialise now in the Māori sector, so mobilising Māori investment to figure out how we can invest into our Māori Pākehī. And it's trickier than you might think.
Ka pai. Guy, let's start with you then, while you've got the microphone. To kick us off, really keen to get your views on how you describe the current investment landscape with regards to Māori startup.
Okay, so just for those who don't know the space, to start a business in New Zealand for startup capital for many years was really tricky, whether you're Māori or not. And historically, we didn't really have much startup capital in this country compared to a lot of other countries. And so the government recognised this about maybe 20 years now ago and started to invest to try and stimulate. I think we might have had one, potentially two venture capital funds in those days. And we certainly didn't have a lot of angel investors and others. We now have something around, tell me if I get this wrong, Aisha, we must have something around 16 VCs. And which is an extraordinary amount. A lot of it supported because of government investment into and supporting them. But those VCs, of course, carve out a certain space and look at a certain place, and they tend to become from a certain background. And they haven't traditionally looked at the Māori pipeline of activity of Māori venture investments because they're just not in those networks. We just don't see them. Kōkiri is an attempt to try and highly profile some of our Māori businesses. There are a number of the VCs now are spending time and energy working with Māori, but the reality is it's unless you figure out how to completely stand out, if you're a Māori business right now, and you're trying to access capital, you've got to work really hard. You're going to have to work really hard because the reality is it's fundamentally still the same principle. It's who you know. It's all about networks.
Do you have a view?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. I think it also depends on the phase and stage, in my experience. There's lots of money for proven business models, no matter who you are. If you're Māori, Pākehā, it doesn't matter. But the real gap at the moment is pre-revenue, pre-seed, seed money, which I think is the ultimate struggle, and to enable you to prove an amazing concept on a global scale, that's the real gap.
Ka pai. Sophie, thoughts?
I am going to speak today because it is an auspicious day. We have actually launched the Arohia Innovation Trailblazer grant today with Callaghan Innovation. And so this is the first grant that we've ever had that supports innovation. So what we are talking about is both access to pūtea and having that capital to co-invest with the government for funds such as this. But this is the first time that we've had something that can actually accelerate and gather more evidence and take shorten the gap between launching your innovation and getting it onto a global world stage. So it's pretty exciting.
Ka pai. Mike, what's your views around some of the challenges or obstacles that Māori founders will face in that pre-seed to seed sort of stage of their startup?
I think, at least in my experience, there's a fair bit of misinformation about Māori-owned business and Māori-operated business, and it's that it's different or not as good or not as strong or not enough for longevity or fly-by-night sort of thing. But there's just so many brilliant examples, and I think the other big challenge we've got is we're actually our own worst enemy. We talk about this Māori economy and we're all here to support each other, but then we see one of the brothers or sisters doing amazing things And in our little community, people shoot them down. It's not really the uplifting community that we want it to be, that we're aspirational, that we chase. And so for me, I think, if there's one ask from this audience, it's actually when we see one of our brothers or sisters doing amazing things, like, let's raise it up. Let's be less shy about it. Let's show the good thing, put it up on our platform, whatever that might be, and let's celebrate it, both locally and globally. Because I think some of that thing, we're thinking too small. We're thinking way too small. And there's some phenomenal talent. We're going to see some of that today. And I'm really excited about the future, but we do need to raise it up and think bigger.
And just to another point, for that pre-seed startup, typically a company that a couple of founders who come up with an idea, they would go and you rely on what they call the friends, the fools, and the family. And you go and ask them for a bunch of money, just whatever they can scrape together so you can get going and build a prototype or do your R&D or build your app or whatever it is you're going to do. Of course, the wealthier your friends, family, and fools network is, the easier it is to get the money. And of course, for a lot of Pākehā Māori, they look around their friends and family and whānau and they go, where am I going to get this capital from? So it is also historically an issue in New Zealand is we don't tend to invest into companies. We've built in an economy where if you want to own assets, you tend to buy in property. We've done that over a number of years. We're finding that's causing significant issues for us, but we don't seem to have the same level of investment by mum and dad investors and others into companies as equity. And so the model of investing into companies does not really resonate with a lot of people. But that reality, that's how companies get up and running, is there are a couple of people around it. Now, my kids are lucky because they come from a middle-class family and their parents are happy to invest into the staff. And by the way, all your mokos and your kids are all looking at side hustles. Virtually all of them, because that's the nature of the world now. They'll have a side hustle, some form. Whether it's a good one or a bad one, that's to be debated. But they'll have some form of side hustles where they're looking at. And they need to be inside an environment that supports them and makes them think about the opportunity about if you create wealth for yourself, not through working for others all the time, salaries are great, raising is very good, but creating genuine wealth for yourself and seeing if you can carve it out. Now, a lot of them think they'll become YouTube influencers, but there are other pathways.
We have some really amazing examples of organisations that embody the Māori way, te ao Māori in business, and what I think is this gives it an unfair competitive advantage always. It's living authentically by these values with the quadruple bottom line. It makes a really successful and appealing Pākehā for investors, and it's authentic. It happens naturally. It's just the default mode for a lot of these organisations. So that's the thing that we can lean into. And the tall poppy conversation was actually raised earlier this morning as well by one of the participants today. So what I want as well is I want to tautoko that. I think we have a responsibility as an organisation and a society to actually remove that lens that we have been suspicious of. We also have a history of iwi investing unsuccessfully years ago, and they've been burnt by investing in high-risk ventures, and we need to actually challenge that and change that and transform that. And this is what's coming in the next 10 years. People are outgrowing that old mindset, and the whakamā and shame has gone. And we've got future opportunities that we can kind of lean into as well. So I'm excited to see what the next generation are going to bring out as well and invest in it.
Cool. Guy, just want your views around iwi investment into the startup asset class.
Yeah, so Sophie's completely right. There has been some early stage investment. In fact, my iwi in South invested into a company and blew $6 million on a bit of waste transformation technology. It didn't really go anywhere. And that's been replicated a number of different places. So there's already a reticence around investing into startups from iwi. And if you think about it, of course, you've been asked to take in a whole lot of settlement money, grow that pūtea, don't lose it, which is the number one rule, and see if you can grow it. And so it puts you in a certain economic model. And when you talk to iwi investors, they're as hard-nosed as any Wall Street brokers. They want a commercial return. They want to. Oh, by the way, you need to grow Māori entrepreneurs as well, and you need to and grow all of our opportunities, but commercial return, and grow our Māori returns and take risks, but commercial return. And so there's this big tension where they go. This is why I'm saying it's not that easy for if you're sitting on a commercial board of an iwi investor, and someone comes in a group comes in with a startup idea, and everyone's going, you need to back your people, and you're going, yeah, but if we invest in the wrong stuff, we're going to get burnt, and then we're going to get told off for that. And so there's this big tension around it. The reality is most iwi groups, even the large ones, aren't really designed for this type of investment. This is rarefied air. This is really tricky stuff to get. How do you pick the right ones? How do you mentor them, grow them? This is the stuff that really most iwi commercial boards aren't really designed for. And my view is you should do a collective, either through some other VCs, or Hilfarians, or the other ones, and then you go through specialised groups who know what they're doing. That's our view. What it doesn't deal, of course, is the ones that are all the pre-VC stuff. That's the pre-seed type of stuff. And where the Māori groups could do something really well is building models of support around all the programs that are getting done around supporting entrepreneurs and giving those programs support.
Mike, keen to get your view as a serial Māori exit entrepreneur, or Māori entrepreneur that's had multiple exits. Just keen to get your view around your experiences of raising capital and the the nuances that come with it.
It's hard. I think that probably just echo some of the sentiment that we've heard today. It's raising money, particularly being from down here, is hard, and even more so if you're a Māori business, let alone being a Māori registered and operated business. I think it's a tricky environment, but I think the key thing is we need to be bold. We need to be more brave. Like I said, those companies, and we're going to hear some of them today, that genuinely have global from day one ambitions. We need to be brave and come out and say it. Let's not be shy and back away from the fact that there's a $2 billion addressable market for an opportunity. You're not going to get laughed at any other room by telling the truth. I think. So for me personally, it was hard. And again, in New Zealand, everyone wants a low-risk, safe business. It's really easy to raise money. Like for my example with the distillery, when you're doing $55 million a year of annual revenue and you've got 230 staff, they're like, okay, there's a proven business over 10 years. That's a model that works. Now let's chuck some money in. But I think, so the biggest learning for me is I think we need to be more ambitious and we need to be more bold. I'm really excited hearing some of the kōrero today around the future of Māori investment. Whether it's from Callaghan, from the government, and or some new VCs that are coming out over the next couple of years. And so I hope that the opportunity to raise money is a little bit easier, a little bit more open going forward. But at the moment, it is very tough times. And there's lots of startups. We've just heard it over the morning tea this morning. I think out of the Kōkiri Accelerator a couple of years ago, there's 2 or 3 that are left that are still going. And it's not because the idea or concept wasn't valid. It's just they ran out of runway and probably didn't have enough time. And I bet you there was no shortage of conversations going on around how do we raise more money. So I just think, we just need to be better. We need to support these businesses.
Ka pai. Sophie, what, in your experience in the space, what do you think are some of the pitfalls that Māori startup may sort of face, I guess, in terms of whether that's team dynamic, team structure, planning, what sort of, as they move through the early stage development phase, and then to potentially, raise capital. What's your views there?
I feel like it's along the lines of being courageous. So, kia manawa nui, we need to continue staying strong in the face of adversity and picking ourselves up when we fail fast. So there are some key characteristics that we see in entrepreneurs, and the most important one that I've seen in my career is the difference between a good idea and doing it. Is the person that I see that goes and does it is successful, even if they fail. So I would encourage everyone to take the honest feedback too. If it's not a good business idea and it's not robust, and the VCs are not interested in giving you the pūtea, you need to change something. So take that feedback on and continue to aspire to be better. But what I also wonder, and I'm curious about, as a government organisation, whether we have the right structures for support. And whether we need to actually change our offering to better suit Pākehā Māori entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general, because we don't have the grassroots products that support the pre-seed. So everything we provide is co-funding. We provide funding into the Kōkiri Accelerator program as well, which will address a lot of what you're talking about, which is the structure of the business and learning how to operate. But I wonder, and it's for everyone today, maybe we need to take this away and go and do something with it, but do we need to actually create a better suite of products to support that gap in the market to help our entrepreneurs?
Ka pai. As we sort of draw to the end of our panel discussion, let's start looking out. Very keen to get on the collective view around sort of what would enable accelerated growth of our people in this space. So absolutely from an entrepreneurial perspective, and then perhaps we'll give a perspective from the VC community and angel community as well.
Great question, Aisha. Two things from me. One is we're sitting inside a building which is a product of big aspiration. All right, so this is rongo wetere, sitting back and watching what was happening in the education sector and thinking about the opportunity to do something pretty significant. And also, although being particularly tied to Maniapoto, to Waikato, to Tainui, building a model for Aotearoa. And sometimes I feel a little bit we get constricted inside our own communities. So we're sitting right now in a product of giant aspiration. And my view is this should be one of the big issues, one of the big youth thinking or phases we should be thinking about for the Māori sector. We've raised everyone's kind of education. We've gone through the phase one, getting educated to a component. Next thing is we've got a lot of excitement. Kōkiri is an example of it. There's a lot of excitement for Māori entrepreneurs. My view, the next phase should be about Māori entrepreneurs communities asking for going big aspirations, big global thinking, big opportunity. Right, so let's get through the phase of just learning how to do the stuff as fast as we can and get to what are we going to do things that will transform community and make a mark on the world from this country. And I think Māori are perfectly led for us because there's an incredible amount of entrepreneurial zeal that's around. It's just now it's about honing it. And the second thing about this for trying to understand capital. Capital finds its right home, tends to generally. It's matching the capital with the aspiration. So don't start talking to VCs if you don't have a commercial business opportunity, because that's not their model. They don't know how to deal with this stuff. If you're looking about impact, social impact, dealing with something particularly in your community, find the capital that matches that. Don't waste time and energy talking to VCs and other commercial groups around that stuff. If you're interested in the commercial stuff, race straight towards the VCs and others and get direction around how we're going to build a business that's going to make it worthwhile and make a big impact on it. And tends to be the energy you get from revenues, capital, is the energy that drives businesses to grow or organisations to get bigger. So you've got to figure that pathway for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years from now, I just hope that the Māori economy has a much bigger influence on the New Zealand economy. And I think our potential is only limited by our ability to execute. That's the first thing. And then the second thing for me is about education, you know, and there's so much diversity and opportunity, but I don't think we can afford to wait for the government or the Crown to create the opportunity for us. That's probably my biggest thing, and I've seen a lot of that, you know, everyone's just waiting to get the opportunity or have it provided on a silver platter. The reality is, in this day and age, we need diversity of thought across these startup teams. So there's going to be a group of young entrepreneurs, and we need to teach people entrepreneurism, like at the very young age. I'm talking like 10, 11, 12. We need to have a community that supports going into startup business and knowing it's a bit of a risk. And yes, you can go get a civil engineer job for 50 or 60 grand, and that's legit as well. But you know, there are other pathways, and as community, we need to be supportive of those. And then I think also, you know, one of the big gaps, and I didn't actually talk about before, Aisha, around the future of tech in New Zealand, but we're massively underrepresented in tech and digital as Māori people. And software engineers and architects and AI creators of the future and email programmers, we need more of us to be leading that next over-the-horizon view of what's coming in tech. And so for me, if we can start investing in not just on creating the next generation of entrepreneurs, but training these kids at a very young age and showing them that there's a new opportunity for them and a new pathway, you know, that easily exceeds and doubles the opportunity of your take-home pay, I think we're really going to be putting us on the right path moving forward. And so that's what excites me.
Tēnā koe.
It's really cool because I met Mike today and I asked if he'd had Callaghan Innovation support and he didn't. And what we actually find is that a lot of our Pākehā Māori just get on and do it. And like I said, it's the doing that's very exciting. So kia ora, like that's cool that you've been able to do what you've been able to achieve in your time too. So having role models like yourself and giving back and mentoring as well is super powerful to the wider ecosystem. We've got examples of other organisations that have that kind of 500-year plan in place. And one of our Māori organisations that was on the Callaghan Innovation 100 report, which is 100 great inventors for New Zealand, innovators and entrepreneurs in New Zealand, is Wakatu, and they were really successful in the execution, but primarily coming from the food and beverage and the agri space. So the primary industry still dominates, and I really want to support what you're saying, which is we need to diversify our thinking as well, and there's so much opportunity in deep tech and mātauranga Māori and combining the two. So shout out to Matakohi Architecture and Urbanism who come from Taitokiro. Jade Kake has been doing amazing stuff in this space. We've got other organisations such as Invico Systems with Cameron Baker at the helm, and he is truly inspiring. He is doing what my son is starting out now. He's a combat driver in the army, but Cameron has ended up in drones and utilising the latest technology for the betterment of all of Aotearoa and the world. So he has a global ambition, and having Frontier Ventures and Māori Pākehā together with that global ambition, it's exciting. The last thing I want to really highlight is that transition from new to normal has begun with the latest award that was created for the High Tech Awards, which was the Māori Entrepreneur Award. That was really transformative at the time. It pushed boundaries. People weren't expecting it, and it took a lot to get that over the line, and now we just accept that as normal. And that is so powerful. So what we do today will have big impacts in the next 10 years, and I'm so excited about it. It's really cool to be here today as well. And Koro Green Waste, he's also from Taitokiro too, so just mad plug for him. Stick around, he's the last one.
Very, very good. He hoi anō, hei whakakapi, or hei whakakapi tō tātou nei kōrero. Just really want to thank yourself, or all of yous, for your pukinga, for your mātauranga, so for your wisdom, and it's been a very thought-provoking kōrero, and I'm sure that those in the audience have certainly found it very insightful. So on that note, I will bring our discussion to a close, but and hopefully, and I hope that you've found the discussion very meaningful and purposeful.